In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, it is NBA Draft Rumors Part 2. We actually kind of ran out of time on the first one. There were so many rumors that we wanted to cover. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the Atlanta Hawks, the Orlando Magic, rumors surrounding the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Brooklyn Nets. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe. Actually, in this case, it should be your second listen of the day, but maybe you're listening in reverse order, but check out the first episode. But I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my co-host, who happens to be my younger brother, James. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. 12 days away from the NBA draft. So if you're not subscribed, there's still time to subscribe. So make sure you click the subscribe button, like, share, comment, and pound that notification button so you can be notified every time we drop an episode, because it is go time. The draft is around the corner. James and I will be in New York City, but the draft is in Brooklyn. But Brooklyn's in New York City. But we're going to be in New York giving you we're going to give you live content from the draft. We may have some other stuff up our sleeve, so make sure you click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop. Right, the last episode, we talked about some of the rumors circulating. We covered the rumor about the San Antonio Spurs and the Philadelphia 76ers talking. Again, the wording was the 76ers have engaged with the San Antonio Spurs, and we kind of joked about, what does engage mean? Like, if I go to a house and I knock on the door and I'm inquiring about buying a house and someone lives there, am I engaging in the conversation? Yeah, that doesn't mean the deal is going to be done. We talked about the Pelicans possibly moving up for Ace Bailey. Talked about the fit for the Washington Wizards for Khaman Maluach or Jeremiah Fears, and also the rumors of them moving Jordan Poole. Let's finish up with Orlando Magic. We left off talking about the Magic. Orlando has 2 picks, 16 and 25. Orlando's in a unique situation simply because, in my opinion, I think Orlando, one, has to feel very, very confident in their team and what they've been able to do. They had some injuries last year. Bankero, he had like an oblique injury or something like that.
And Franz, both.
Yeah, they had some weird injuries.
Same injury.
They proved in the playoffs the last 2 years that they're good. They got the dogs. They just need a little bit more offense, a little bit more shooting in the backcourt. And then they've drafted, I don't want to say they drafted bad. I don't think Anthony Black was a bad pickup. I guess it depends on who went after him. Jet Howard hasn't been given a chance. And Tristan da Silva played some when they had the injuries, but when they're healthy, he's not going to get an opportunity to play much. So to me, it just doesn't make sense for them to bring in another 2 rookies at 16 and 25. I know you mentioned Jace Richardson. You think he would be a good fit there. But would you take Jace at 16 and then move pick 25, especially when there are rumors out there that, like, Sacramento is desperately looking to get into the first round of the draft? I've heard the Mavs are a team that could be looking to get into the back end of the first round to add a point guard. Charlotte is another team that I've heard could be looking to move up because they have picks 33 and 34. They may be looking to package those to move up a few spots. So with that being said, if you're Orlando, you mentioned Jace Richardson. Do you take him at 16 and then try to make a move to add some shooting with one of your with the other pick and another package deal?
I have no issue with taking Jace Richardson at 16. Again, if Paolo is your Bron, you need a guard who's going to knock down shots to, alleviate some of the playmaking and give him space. So they definitely miss Jalen Suggs, but he just can't stay healthy. He's always hurt, diving into people's legs, crazy stuff. They need another guard. I would take Jace Richardson, and it works to me for both parties. Like I had mentioned before we close out the last podcast, if you don't think Jace Richardson can play point guard in the NBA. Well, I don't need him to be the point guard on my team if I got Franz and I got Paolo. I need Jace Richardson to do exactly what he does well, which is score off the ball, finish in the paint at an elite level, even though he is only 6 feet tall. And I think that he does have, just a little bit of playmaking, but it's going to be just enough with those two guys. Like, their problem is Orlando couldn't shoot. And, if you decide to play Suggs next year, Suggs at the 1, I got to look at KCP's contract, but Suggs, KCP, Paolo, Franz, and whoever you decide to play at the 5. And then you have a rotation of, Jace Richardson. Then you have shooting. Shooting is going to be paramount for those guys because they need space. And Franz, as good as he is, he's really like a high level, 2-level scorer right now because his 3-ball is just, I don't know what's going on. He's got some crazy hits. I like Jace Richardson here. He might be the only rookie that I would consider. I mean, if you feel like, we could use somebody who can develop in a few years, maybe you look at Yegor. I know a lot of people are higher on Yegor than I am, but Yegor would be like the 6'9" version of Corey Joseph, who started for them at the end of the year.
You already got Anthony Black.
I mean, Anthony Black isn't the playmaker, the passer that Yegor is. And he's bigger. I mean, Anthony Black, I get it, but, Anthony Black is...
That's what he was supposed to be.
He was supposed to be.
Point guard, playmaker.
But, there's just no... I feel like Yegor may work because I don't necessarily think Yegor is your... I think Yegor is a spoon-feeding kind of guy. And if we sit here and say, man, we know that Yegor lacks, like, assertiveness. And let's say the jump shot does eventually come out to be league average, well, then you got 6'9" who can set guys up, run the offense, and he ends up being a 34-35% three-point shooter next to, 6'9" and 6'10", then you got your dream big lineup, and you got Suggs at 6'4", who is, everywhere. So
I'm not – the way parity is in the NBA, I know Orlando's young. I'm not taking another guard who's just going to – allow defenders to just clog the paint. I'm looking at Orlando right now, and in the playoffs, they only had 3 scores averaged more than double figures. And Wendell Carter was their third leading scorer at 10 points per game. But you look at the season, Banchero and Wagner at about 24, 25 a game. Jalen Suggs at 16 a game. And with Suggs, it's interesting because he shot 39% from 3 the year before. It was on 5 attempts per game. I don't think most people don't know that. I wouldn't have known that unless I really did the research on that. But he was at 31% last year. So I get they need shooting.
Right. But part of Suggs' 3-point decline, and maybe he had a fake year the year before, but he was asked to do more when Paolo went down. So there's a lot more off the dribble threes and catch and shoot threes. So let's say he's a 34% 3-point shooter. You still need shooting because 34%, especially with those two, that's just not going to cut it.
Yeah, no, they definitely need shooting. I would go with Jordan Poole. I don't even need the 2 rookies. Maybe Washington. I don't even know if the numbers work here. I'm just speculating here. I think Washington would love to add more young pieces. And so if they can find a deal to work out where they dump their 2 picks to Washington in a deal with Jordan Poole, yes, somehow the numbers has to work because Poole's making a significant amount of money. But if I'm Orlando, I look at the parity in the league, especially in the East. I assume Boston is going to be down next year. I look at Philly. I don't know what direction they could go in. Milwaukee is probably going to be down next year. And if Orlando's healthy, you have to think like, if we're healthy and we add shooting, why can't we be a team that has home court advantage in the playoffs? So if I'm Orlando, I'm not bringing in 2 rookies. I'm packaging these picks to get me a shooter, whether it's Jordan Poole, whether it's Ant Simons, whatever it is, I'm bringing shooting in the backcourt. I get the appeal for Jace, but I'm not bringing in another rookie because the last 2 rookies haven't been able to play.
I mean, if that's the case, you might as well just abandon the draft. If you don't trust your draft process.
No,
I mean, sometimes It works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't. But like I've spoken with someone that mentioned some teams that just they don't need to keep adding young guys because it just adds a bunch of redundancy to what they already have. They need some veterans because they want to take the next step. I don't think Portland, even though Portland has they have a lottery pick, I wouldn't necessarily dump that, but Portland is a team that doesn't need to continue to add a bunch of young guys. And let's pivot to the Thunder. All right, when we return, we're going to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that is also mentioned to be active in trade rumors despite playing in the NBA Finals. All right, let's talk about James's favorite soda, Olipop. Olipop is a new kind of soda. It is made for people who love the classic taste of soda, but want something that supports their health with just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can. Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. You know what? I'm from the Midwest. I call it pop. You may call it soda, or maybe if you're from New Orleans, you call it a cold drink. But anyway, that's a whole different subject. And traditional sodas or pops are loaded with sugar, like 39 grams in a regular Coke or 44 grams in an orange Fanta. And Olipop flips the script with just a fraction of the sugar. You have to check out Olipop, and you can get a free can of Olipop. All you have to do is just buy 2 cans in any store, and they will reimburse you for one. So head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and find Olipop near you. That is Drink Olipop, OLIPOP. Drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, second segment. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they are in the NBA Finals. The Thunder have 2 picks. Ironically, their picks are like right around the same time Orlando's is. Orlando has the 16th pick. The Thunder have the 15th pick. The Thunder are picking at number 24, and Orlando's picking at number 25. So their picks are in the same range, and they could be looking at the same players. But from what I've been hearing from different agents is expect the Thunder to be active on draft night because they have too many picks, and whoever they draft is probably not going to crack their rotation. You look at next year. Let's just go by if they stand pat. You're going to have pick 15 and 24, and then Nikola Topić, who was a lottery pick last year, who redshirted this year. So that's 3 rookies. And then you had Dillon Jones, who was a first-round pick last year, who's trying to find his way in the rotation. Ajay Mitchell, even though Ajay got some NBA Finals burn, he's a guy that I think deserves more minutes. You got some young guys that they had a short window to develop. You go to OKC, if you don't develop fast with all the picks they have, you're out the rotation. Ousmane Dieng is an example. My man Poole was out.
Poole out the league.
Everybody liked. So anyway, with that being said, the Thunder have a situation where they're going to be coming up against the apron or against the tax. Maybe not the apron, but the tax. That team is going to get expensive real fast. You got Chet, you got Jalen Williams are expected to get max deals, which means Dort and Isaiah Joe, maybe Aaron Wiggins could end up having to be moved for cheaper contracts or whatever. So with that being said, if you're the Thunder, what do you do with your 2 picks? And who do you even target? Because this is a question I can't answer. So I'm putting you on the hot spot.
Man, if I'm the Thunder, and first of all, if I'm a player and I'm in that green room when the Thunder is drafted, I'm like, please don't let me go to the Thunder. Please don't let me go.
You gonna do the Steve Francis?
Nah, I think you know what? I think that
Steve Francis couldn't even hide his frustration when Vancouver called his name. He was like, hell no.
I think get drafted in the NBA is too great of an opportunity for you to pull a Steve Francis. I couldn't do that. Even if it's the Thunder. And that's no knock on like Oklahoma City. I'm just saying like it's just hard to you can't get better if you don't play. But if I am the Thunder and I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, we can't pay everybody. We got to shave off this money. The closest person, and again, this is my mock, not what the consensus is. I know he got a green room invite, but if Carter Bryant is there, I take Carter Bryant because he fits what I'm trying to do. If I have to replace somebody, one of these, role players, he could replace a Lou Dort. if Carter Bryant, if somebody drinks that Kool-Aid that is Carter Bryant and, takes him a little higher, which is probably likely to happen, and Cedric Coward falls to Oklahoma City, I take Cedric Coward. I am zeroing in on a defensive-minded wing that can score if I am Oklahoma City, because I feel like, if Caruso can't play forever, you know what I'm saying? And if you feel like Kaysen, the results of his playoff performance, again, I don't want to say it's been up and down, but the bigger the stage, the bigger the spotlight. And he's had some games where he was okay. He had some games where he wasn't that good. I'm going to try to replace those guys and keep them on cheap deals. Keep those guys with cheap deals and try to pay Chet and Jalen Williams. So those are the guys I'll go. Carter Bryant and Cedric Coward. And I got to trade one of those picks because the other one's not going to play.
All right, what about this? If you're the Thunder at 15, do you take Colin Murray Boyles and say, hey, man, you are going to be playing with the Oklahoma City Blue. You're shooting threes all season long. We don't need you this year, but you're going to spend this whole season shooting nothing but threes. Like, they don't even need to, do anything but develop him. Like, I would say, all right, Topić and CMB, it's your show. So
all right. So if I'm Dillon Jones and you guys draft Colin Murray Boyles,
they both from South Carolina. So I think they probably got some ties to each other. Yeah, so they both South Carolina boys.
We gotta fight it out because
you ain't my homeboy no more.
We're not homeboys. We talking about money, and I know Colin Murray Boyles. They are built the same, and really, to me, especially on that team, their success, their minutes are going to come from shooting threes. So Dillon Jones, Colin. If I'm Dillon Jones, Colin, you got to something's not going to work. I'm looking you off if we both playing for the Blue because I'm trying to get caught up. I mean, yeah. I don't like that fit for Colin Murray Boyles.
Yeah, it's a tough situation with Orlando and OKC for different reasons. Because again, if you're OKC, you don't need two more rookies. You do. But you don't until it gets too expensive and you have to move off of some of those guys. All right, let's talk about another rumor that I've heard. I wrote about it. The Atlanta Hawks are looking to move up. Atlanta enters this offseason with two glaring needs: size in the paint and a backup point guard. Unless they still believe in the Kobe Buffkin experience. Buffkin has dealt with some injuries. But from everything that I've heard, Atlanta wants to move up and try to get in the range for Khaman Maluach. I think Maluach is perfect for Atlanta. If I'm his agent, if I'm the guys at Clutch, I'm praying that he ends up in Atlanta simply because there's some similarities between Maluach and Derek Lively. Both Duke guys actually have the same agent. We've seen how good Derek Lively looked playing for the Mavericks, playing next to Luka Doncic. Maluach, statistically on paper, was better than Lively as a freshman. Lively had a calf injury and so on. And I remember hearing
better team too.
Better team. Yeah, that Duke team Lively was on didn't have a lot of spacing. I didn't like the Lively and Filipowski fit and so on. And then Proctor was a freshman. Anyway, I took a lot of heat for saying the Mavs should take Lively at 10 a couple years ago. They ended up not taking him at 10. They took him at 12. But I thought Lively would look really good in the NBA next to a playmaker like Luka, and he would give the Mavs what they needed at that time, which was a vertical lob threat, rebounding, and an interior presence. With that said, for Maluach, I think it's the same thing. You need to go to Atlanta. If you go to Atlanta, Trae throws you 2 lobs a game, that's 4 points. Right place, right time, bucket, that's 6 points. You may get an offensive rebound putback, that's 8 points. You might get fouled running the floor or something like that. You knock down the free throw.
Jalen Johnson, 4-5 pick and roll is definitely going to be there.
Exactly. He might be able to average 10 to 12 points per game as a rookie in Atlanta. I spoke with someone recently around. He works with the Hawks, and he's like, I still don't understand why Alex Sarr didn't want to come here. Like those buckets could have been
I
a
said
lot.
the same
You definitely
thing,
said the
bro.
same thing. Is that his life could have been a lot easier playing with Trae Young on a better team. So anyway, with that being said, what are your thoughts on the Hawks trying to package 13 and 22 and whoever to move up to get Maluach, and how high do you think they have to get him?
You probably got to get to 10 at the minimum. Well,
No, he's not going past Toronto at 9. If he's available, Toronto's going to take him at 9.
I
There's too
mean,
many
I'm saying, I said you got to get to at least 10, but what does Toronto value? You still got Pirtle on another year, right? Do you want Maluach at the center position? Again, I get it. Measurables, maybe there's some untapped potential as an offensive player outside of just running and dunking. But I think Asingay is definitely a Raptors guy. And it depends on where he goes.
How many wings would they need?
Man, he's a basketball player.
I get that, but you got Grady Dick, you got Jacoby Walter, you just traded for Brandon Ingram.
You're in a bad spot. What else are you gonna do? You're gonna take a point guard if you're the Raptors? You got a lot of bread tied into Quickly's making like 35.
Yeah, I think I might take Yegor there. I need a guy that's not trying to get buckets and to feed all those guys, and that way you can let Quickly play.
I'm not taking if I'm a team that already can't shoot, I'm not taking a point guard that might not be able to shoot who isn't.
The shooting should have been addressed with Brandon Miller. You factor Grady Dick is supposed to be able to
Brandon
shoot.
Ingram?
Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
And then
but
Jacoby
Grady Dick didn't shoot the ball well from 3.
Yeah,
Jacoby didn't shoot from 3.
But that's what you drafted them to be as shooters. So you need to just say, all right, they were young, and they still got it. They still need to develop into their roles, but that's what you drafted them to be as shooters, correct?
I feel like realistically, Toronto's timeline is not realistic. If I'm Toronto,
what is their timeline?
They cooked their timeline by trading for Brandon Ingram. Yeah, no knock on Brandon Ingram, but they cooked their timeline. They need to be like rebuilding and drafting the best player available. Now, if you think that's Maluach, that's cool. But back to the subject, I think if I am the Bulls, and you said they got 2 picks, maybe I entertain that if I'm the Bulls. But that's just no guarantee that Maluach. The Bulls are at 11, I believe. To move up, if I'm Atlanta trying to move up, like what can they package to move up to take Maluach? And the Bulls are at 12. Man, they're not gonna get there.
I think you got to get to 6. I really think you have to get to number 6 to guarantee to get Maluach.
If I'm the Wizards, what are you giving me to move back when I need players too?
Well, it might be picks. It might be the picks.
I'm not giving you my picks if I'm them.
I don't know. But if I'm Atlanta, you have to try. I don't think the Pelicans, because they just drafted Messi last year, but then again, you just never know. But I think if you really want Maluach, if you're the Hawks, you have to find a way to get to number 6. All right, up next, we're going to finish this conversation, and I want to share my thoughts on how I think this draft could be very, very big for Atlanta, and it could have a major impact on their future. The NBA Finals are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it is a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it very easy to stay in the game before tip-off and even live. With player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So if you got a read on who's heating up, so why not back it up with a same-game parlay? And also, here's a big question for you. How could a $200 bonus bet add the excitement if your first $5 bet hits? And if you're new to FanDuel, like I said, it is the perfect time to sign up. Hit FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, last segment. All right, we left off talking about the Hawks. I mentioned I think Atlanta needs to get up to 6 if they want to get Maluach. I saw there was a trade. I think it was Sam Vecini, and it made sense to me. It was a deal involving Dallas, and I guess the framework was Gafford and LeVert. No, Gafford for LeVert, and then Dallas would end up with Atlanta's pick at number 22. I think that was the framework behind
That's
it.
more realistic to me than you getting up to taking Maluach, I think.
Yeah, it's realistic. But I wonder, are the Wizards, because their general manager, Will Dawkins, came from the Oklahoma City tree. And the Oklahoma City Thunder built their roster by just having a lot of picks every single year. Now the Wizards do have another first round pick at 18, but I wonder if it's a situation where they're like, we don't love anybody like that, but if we can add another couple of picks, maybe. I'm just thinking out loud here. But like I said, if I'm Atlanta, I don't think you can let Toronto pick ahead of you, because Toronto's going to take Maluach. There's the African ties to Masai. They're going to need a young center. He fits what they're looking for as far as like length, and they will take raw dudes. like they will take guys that are a little bit uncooked. So with that being said, I think it's important for Atlanta because Trae Young is eligible for a 4-year, $228 million extension. Now, I don't know who holds the power in this situation. Is it Trae or is it the Hawks? And the reason I'm asking, because is it Trae? Does he say, all right, man, I've seen the guys in my draft class. I've seen Luka's been to the finals. He's out in LA now. I've seen SGA win an MVP. Statistically, I'm just as good as them, and I'm just like
counting stats. He's just as good as them.
Yeah, statistically, but I'm just running in place. I had my run to the conference finals. We haven't been back since. We're just continuously a play-in team, but there are some signs that we're getting better. Jalen Johnson was good for us. Zachary Ricochet was good. I just need more size. I need a 7-footer. I need a lob threat. I need someone to replace Capella that can maximize me as a playmaker. All right. So let's say they can't make the move up and Atlanta can't get a lob threat. That's when I wonder, who holds the power? Does Trae say, I've done everything I can here, I want to go somewhere else? Or does Atlanta say, hey, man, statistically, you've been great, but our playoff record, other than that 1 year, hasn't been good. We're not sure if we can win a title with you. Because remember, if Dallas said they didn't think they could win a title with Luka Doncic, I think that just maybe that's a one-off situation. But does Atlanta say, we can't give you the 228? We'll give you 180, but we can't give you the 228.
Ooh, that's a big haircut, man.
All right. It is a big haircut, but I figure if you can give him 200, you might as well give him the 228. But anyway, with that being said,
that's a lot of money.
Who do you think holds the power in that situation? And do you think this draft is going to have an impact on Trae Young's future with the Hawks? Because someone mentioned to me yesterday, the Kobe Buffkin draft pick doesn't look good. Then someone also mentioned Ajay Griffin, that pick.
But you did draft Jalen Johnson. When people were passing up on Jalen Johnson because he, decided to shut it down at Duke, I said it once. And I say it again, I almost don't care. As long as it wasn't anything illegal, I wouldn't have let him slide that far.
Yeah, that dude, you gotta be concerned about a dude that just leaves in the middle of the season. I think he's still paying for that. Hear me out.
Please explain that to me.
If Jalen Johnson was a lottery pick, like he should have been, and he played the same way he's played the last year and a half, he would have got a max deal. But he only got 150. Not saying only 150, but he would have definitely got a max deal. Is Franz Wagner? Yes, Franz Wagner is very, very good. But Franz got the 220, I think. And Jalen got 150. That's a $70 million difference, if my numbers are correct. So I think if he would have been a lottery pick, he would have played more as a rookie. more than likely, because they had more invested in him, he would have been hooping and he would be on a max deal.
I don't know the backstory. He quit at Duke allegedly. I don't even know. Like, here's my thing, and I don't know the story, but sometimes it may not be like the kid's, decision. You know what I'm saying? It could be. I'm not saying it was, but it could be outside factors. He was just too talented for that to happen, for me at least. And
if Ace Bailey would have walked off the floor at Rutgers at January, nobody would be saying, I'm taking him in the top 5. Every little thing he's ever done in his life would be magnified. You know what? He skipped school a lot when he was in 5th grade. I don't know if you could take him.
Different player.
Different player, but
different talent level.
We're just talking about talent, though. You think Jalen Johnson is that much more talented than Ace Bailey?
I think Jalen Johnson is an all-star eventually.
I'm talking about after like half a season at Duke.
I don't think there's a difference in their talent level. Okay. I think if Jalen Johnson finishes that season, he's a top 5 pick. Ace Bailey's probably a top 5 pick, so I think that the talent level is no different. But I was just saying that,
in my opinion, if he would have been a top 5 pick, same talent level and same production, we'd be talking about him as a max contract guy. Like that, leaving Duke.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
He lost money following the draft, and then I think that Atlanta got him on a great deal. At the very minimum, you can at least say you think Atlanta got him on a great deal.
They definitely got him. They got him on 2 great deals. They got him on a cheaper rookie deal, and they got him on at the deal that he is on right now. But so I'm saying this, I wouldn't have cared because he's just way too talented. And as long as it's not some super knucklehead stuff, like, I would have taken it. But I say that to say this.
Let me flip this. Let me flip it this way. Atlanta drafted a guy from Duke that I don't want to use the word quit. I use the word left in the middle of the season. And then Atlanta drafted a guy from Duke that left in the middle.
You see, and guess what? Okay, and that's what I'm saying. Like, who probably had better intel, Adrian Griffin or Jalen Johnson? Probably Adrian Griffin, coach's son, pastor in training, but he quit. And that's his choice.
And I think part of intel was love of the game. Like who absolutely loves the game. Right. Anyway, with that being said, does this draft have an impact on Trae Young's future in Atlanta, in your opinion?
No.
Okay.
Yes and no. No, because I am not holding him 100% responsible for last year's results. His second player got hurt. And at the same time, if I'm Trae Young, I'm not sitting here and saying what the front office didn't do because they got you, Dyson Daniels, right?
It's a mixed bag, though. I mean, they've whiffed on a couple draft picks.
Man, listen, everybody whiffs on draft picks, man. It happens. But they got you Dyson Daniels, right? They stopped playing Kel'el, whose best days are behind him, right? They got you Jalen Johnson when other teams were passing them up. They was like, you know what? That's just too much talent to pass up. So, like, I think the pressure's on both parties, if that's the cop-out answer. Trae was banged up, I believe, in Achilles injury. At least he was questionable almost every game. He did improve as a defender, but I feel like there's only so much you can do on defense at 6'1", 180. But at the same time, the Hawks front office is going to be like, hey, man, in the playing game, you had defensive lapses that potentially could have cost us because you left Davion Mitchell wide open. You dared him to shoot, and that's what plays on social media, and that's what they say. So I think it's going to be both parties. I think this is an important draft for the Hawks. If you can't get Maluach and you don't, you're not able to trade, I would try to trade for Daniel Gafford because, again, I think their window is they need to try to compete now. Mm-hmm. I think that's what they should do. But at the same time, I just don't feel like either side can point fingers and say you're not doing enough.
All right, last question. Brooklyn Nets have 4 picks. You bringing all 4 in the training camp?
Absolutely. Signing all 4 guaranteed deals. I know they're first round picks. I'm not stashing anybody. If I'm Brooklyn, I'm all in on – I'm doing exactly what Washington did last year. I'm trying to play as many young guys as possible.
That's fair. It's going to be some redundancy unless you say, all right, I'm taking a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. Okay, if If Fears is there, you take Fears, right? You can get an OG wing in either Coward or Neat Clifford. You need to take Hanson Yang with one of those picks. I'm trying to do what the Wizards did. We're gonna get as young as possible, development. That's what I'm doing. Signing off for, not trading anybody. I'm trying to get another one and trading Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas. That's what I'm trying to do. I need more picks.
I'm trying to spread it out. Actually, 2026. I'm trying to get some in 2026.
Yeah.
2027, I don't know. The 2026 high school graduation class is pretty weak. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. It is NBA Draft Rumors Part 2. If you missed the first one, check it out. Once again, it's Rafael and James, and we are out. Happy Father's Day weekend to all the fathers.